All right, let's look at the types of dominance. In our previous video, we looked at solving monohybrid crosses. And all of those crosses that I did in my previous video were just complete dominance, as I've mentioned. And so we'll go deeper into what complete dominance is and other types of dominance. Quick crash course. Right, we have three types of dominance: your complete dominance, codominance, and incomplete dominance. Ne? Those are the three types of dominances that we have in a cross, basically. Ne? We're going to represent them in a cross so that you understand the different types. Right, the first one we're going to look at is complete dominance. So complete dominance. Ne? What do we mean by a complete dominance? You're going to see that if we have a tall plant, both parents are homozygous for a certain trait. The phenotype of the F1 generation will basically be a representation of the dominant allele in the genotypes of the parents. So what is the dominant allele? Is basically your tall height, the height tall. Short is recessive, so it will not be expressed. So this is what we call complete dominance. We'll go into detail a lot later. Yeah, good. Then the second one will be your incomplete dominance, meaning when we have parent that is red and a parent that is white. Yeah? The phenotype of the offspring is pink. Don't worry, this has got nothing with these flowers cheating on each other or any adoption. No, it is still the offspring of these P1 generation, but they basically made a blend of the two phenotypes. So it's a blend of the two phenotypes, and the phenotype is completely different from the parent's phenotype. Then lastly, we will look at what we call codominance. Codominance. So what do we mean? So when I think of codominance, I think of the following. If you say you are co-owners, ne? Co-owners, what do you mean? You and your brother own a company, ne? Although he might cheat you of some shares, but anyway, that's neither the case. So you two own the company. You two are representatives of the company. Now, if you look at these two cars, we have a red, a brown. I usually argue with my learners as to what color is this, and a white car. Both white and brown, patches are shown in the offspring. This is the offspring. So both characteristics are expressed in the offspring. So if you look at incomplete dominance and codominance, basically there's no dominant allele. There's no dominant characteristics between the two parents. Both of them will be expressed in codominance, and there will be a blend in incomplete dominance. Right. Quickly, complete dominance. Dominant allele masks. Incomplete dominance, like I said, it masks, blocks, or you can see blocks, but I like the word masks. Yeah? It's not like it's not there. It's there, but it's masked. Yeah? It masks the expression of the recessive allele. So if you have two, for example, B is for black fur color, and then this is for blue fur color. The blue is recessive. How do you know it's recessive? With a lowercase or small letter b. How do you know black is dominant? With capital letter B. So the black phenotype will be expressed if you have a heterozygous individual. Meaning, this means that the black phenotype will mask the appearance of the blue phenotype. Why? Because the black allele is dominant, and it will mask the recessive allele. Hence, the individual will turn out to be black. And this speaks to Mendel's law of dominance. Mendel's law of dominance speaks to this complete dominance. It says certain factors. Remember, Mendel did not know that these are alleles, but he was still able to solve genetic crosses in a way, the father of genetics. What a genius, what a G. Ne? Good. Certain factors of a trait exist in either a dominant or recessive form, similar to black and blue. Black exists as a dominant, blue exists as a recessive. Ne? If the pair of factors, ne, one dominant, one being recessive, ne, for example, black and blue, the phenotype will only show the dominant trait, meaning it will only show the black trait, which is the one that is dominant. And in solving monohybrid crosses for complete dominance, we use the same letters. If you're going to use W, then you're going to use W for the other factor or trait. Ne? Good. This is an example. A heterozygous blue chicken is crossed with a homozygous black chicken. Now, the black is recessive. It's a recessive trait, and then the blue is represented by capital letter B is dominant. Notice that in the phenotypes of the offspring, either one of the two alleles will the two alleles will be expressed in the phenotypes. So the phenotypes of the parents are expressed. So, for example, if we cross this, we'll have big B, small b, big B, small b, small b, small b, and then small b, small b. Notice that in the event that we have a heterozygote individual, the dominant allele, which is the blue phenotype, will mask that of the recessive one, which is the black. So the individual becomes blue, similar to this one. However, in the case of a homozygous individual, homozygous recessive, it will be black because it is not masked by any other allele. If we had capital letter B, that means this individual would be homozygous dominant for the color blue. So, an example. In pea plants, Mendel crossed round seeds. He was looking at seed shape and round seeds. Yeah. Then he crossed them, got the genotype, meaning, and then the gametes. Then fertilization. Remember, this is Sasa marks for you to write all of these. These are Sasa marks. Then he crossed them and got these genotypes. The first one was homozygous dominant. The next two were heterozygous, and then the last one was homozygous recessive. Now, if we look at the genotype, what do they represent? Big R, that is a round seed. So round is dominant over wrinkled. And then the second two ones are round seeds. Why? They are heterozygous, but only the dominant allele gets to be expressed in the phenotype of the F1 generation. And what is the dominant allele? It is round seeds. Similarly to this one as well. Then the last one, we only have alleles that can that basically represent wrinkled seeds. So these are wrinkled seeds, and then the phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio is expressed. I will charge. Then there's another example that you can do all on your own. Also this one as well, yeah, tongue rolling. I think I did it in my previous video, rollers and non-rollers. It's amazing how people cannot roll their tongue. All right, now coming to the second type of dominance, which is incomplete dominance. So in incomplete dominance, we notice that we have a red rose here crossed with a white rose. And then the phenotype of the offspring of the F1 generation is pink. So what is really happening with incomplete dominance? It's self-explanatory. These are incompletely dominant. So in incomplete dominance, a cross between two phenotypically different, meaning physically. You know, when I see phenotypically in my head, I'm not saying replace it, but in my head, I think physically. See now, a cross between two physically different, phenotypically different parents where no allele of the gene is either dominant or recessive. The offspring will be a blend. It is important that you answer it very carefully. We are very careful with how we use our words here. Blend of the two alleles to form a new phenotype. They form a completely new phenotype, and it's a blend, or you can say mixture. It's a mixture of the two. Good. And then how do we represent this in genetic crosses? In this case, we are going to use different letters. Let's look at this problem here. Let's take it to the whiteboard to try and solve it. Let's take it to the whiteboard. I am only looking for the genetics problem. Great. Now that we've highlighted our problem, let's go and solve this genetic problem quickly. A homozygous red flowering plant is crossed with a homozygous white flowering plant will produce what? Pink flowers. The moment the phenotype of the offspring is different from that of the parents, you stop thinking about complete dominance, you go into incomplete dominance. Now, complete the genetic diagram to show this how this is possible using red for R for red and W for white. So we are giving the alleles, the letters that represent our alleles. If you're not given, write a key and then choose your own. Now, but in most cases you're going to be given the letters. We say homozygous red. Red is R, capital letter R. Then it is homozygous, so that means it's going to be R. It is important to note that none of them are dominant over each other, will be dominant over each other. Then we have homozygous white. White we said is W, so it is homozygous. Homo means the same. WW. Aha. Now we go and solve. We have the phenotype and the genotype. So let's solve the cross. P1, remember you must write P1. These are Sasa marks. We have the phenotype of the parents, then the genotype of the parents. What is the phenotypes? You are given. We gave you, Shem. It is a red flower. Please write it in full. Plant. Sasa marks. Is crossed with a white flowering plant. These are Sasa marks for free. Our government has provided us with marks for free. And then the genotype, you've worked it out. We said the genotype for red is RR, crossed with a white flowering plant, homozygous. Great. From there, what do? You have observed the phenotype first. Now we have the genotype. Now what happens? Meiosis takes place. Write meiosis, please don't forget to write it. It's Sasa marks as well. And then meiosis, we have our gametes. If you write gametes, it's also Sasa marks. So here's R, here's another gamete, R, another gamete, W, W, Sasa marks for free. Now, after we have gametes, the parents are going to do something, and then fertilization will occur. Most of you miss fertilization. Please write fertilization as part of our Sasa marks. We draw our Punnett square. Then we start with our gametes, the one that we wrote. Let's change color a bit. R, R, W, W. Then if we cross them, it's going to be R, W, then cross this one and this one, RW, then this one and this one, then RW, and this one and this one. That's going to be RW. Huh. We're not done. We're going to go and say, well, how is our F1 generation? If you write F1 generation as part of your SASA marks. Then phenotype. Most people start with genotype first and genotype. So the genotypes are RW, 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 and RW. All of them are RW. Then what is the phenotypes? All of them will be what? Will be pink. They are neither red or white. They are a new type of phenotype, a mixture of the two phenotypes, a mixture of red and white, sort of like diluting. So if you represent it like this, it's SASA marks, you are done. But you stay there. So that is incomplete dominance. Easy, straight to the point, no need to worry about that one. So basically this is the cross that we have done. An example of it, here we go. So these are examples of problems that you might do. Please do these problems on your own. These are examples of your exam questions. Then the next one, let's go back, is codominance. Codominance. Now in codominance, you notice that this bear is white, and this one is black. The phenotype of the offspring is not black or white. That would be complete dominance. The phenotype of the offspring is not a mixture. When I say it's not something completely new. It's not an intermediate, a blend between the two. But basically, you have patches of black and patches of white. This is what we call codominance. White is represented and black is also represented. No, it's not like it's a blend. That would be incomplete dominance. If it was incomplete dominance, it would produce something like gray, for example. But in this case, you have both phenotypes of the parents being represented in their offspring. For example, you have your mother's eyes and your father's big nose. Something like that. You understand? Good. So in codominance, both alleles. Now, I usually say this. Don't say. I've heard kids saying both genes are equally. Please don't say both genes. Please use the word allele. Wording is very important. All right. Both alleles are equally dominant, and both are expressed in the phenotype of the offspring. Good. Now, here's a genetic problem. Let's solve this genetic problem. It's not this one. Now, as we solve this codominance problem, you'll notice something very interesting. It almost looks like the previous problem we have solved, but here's where it is different. In cattle, 3 color variations are possible. The cattle can either be red, white, or it can be red and white, meaning it has red and white patches. Are we together? Great. This comes about due to the red allele and the white allele for fur coat. Do a genetic cross between a red bull and a white female to show the possible offsprings. Okay, now they're telling us red will be represented by capital letter R, similar to the other problem, and white will be represented by the other R. So what differentiates this from the other cross, from incomplete dominance? They tell you that red and white in patches. Patches of red and white are possible. It's nothing. There's nothing completely new here. If they told you, for example, a pink cow can be produced, then you know, no man, a pink. Nah, that'll be something completely new. So here it's both red and white. So both red and white are represented. That is codominance. All right, let's go and do it. Similar to the other problem, P1 generation, Sasa marks first. The phenotypes you are given. Ne? They said, what is cross? Do a genetic between a Red Bull gives you wings, and a white female. Those are, you cut them from here. They are given to you, Sasamaks. And then the genotypes. The genotype is such that it's the same. You use R for red. That's R, R. Yeah? And that's W, W. Perfect. Now we go to meiosis, spermatogenesis, and oogenesis. And then we're going to produce gametes after that. The gametes are R, R. I like to circle them, showing that these are gametes, they're separate. And then the two cows are going to do what the two cattle are going to do what two adult cattle do. And then fertilization will take place. Great. Now, as fertilization takes place, it will be the same as the previous one in a way. We start with our gametes. Big R, W, W, R, W, R, W, R, W, and R, W. You must not leave anything to chance. Then the F1 generation Sasamax, the phenotype, and the genotype. The genotypes we have R, W, R, W, R, W, and R, W. All of them. Ne? All of them now. How will they be? They said here the only three possible colors are red, and red will be represented by R, R. White will be represented by W, W. Ne? But red and white, that means it's a mixture of these two. So patches all have patches of red and white. And you've solved your genetic cross for codominance. Ne? So this is basically it. Ne? So that is codominance. This would look like this. Ne? So codominance in cattle showing three code colors. Red, I said they say it's red, I see brown. Shame. White and patches of red and white. So in summary, to differentiate between codominance, complete, co, and then incomplete. If these two cows, a red and a white cow, were to be crossed and they produced a white cow, what type of dominance will that be? That would be your complete dominance. Why is it complete? Because either one of those two characteristics will be shown in the phenotype of the offspring. Ne? Good. So it could be either a red or white. That's complete dominance. Now, if these two, red and white, mate, and they produce a a pink cow. Eh, oh, that's something different from these from the parents. Ne? It's a blend of the two. So I would say it will be incomplete dominance. If these two mate and then they produce this little bugger over here, ne? Then patches of white and red. That is what? That is co-dominance. Ne? Uh, red and white. Notice what's the difference? It is ne? And white, not all white, and white. Red and white, patches of red. That's co-dominance. Ne? I think we've got this on lockdown. We are fine. And always remember, complete dominance basically has to do with Mendel's law of dominance. Right? Great.